stop for a moment. Not because everything is fine, but because maybe it isn't. Maybe today feels heavier than you expected. Maybe you woke up already tired, already carrying thoughts you couldn't quite explain, even to yourself. And yet, here you are still moving, still breathing, still trying, even if it feels slow, almost invisible. Let me ask you something. Who told you that you always have to be strong? Who decided that you're only allowed to rest after you've proven something? Somewhere along the way, you might have learned that slowing down means falling behind, that struggling means failing, that if you're not constantly achieving something big, then somehow you're not doing enough. But what if that isn't true? What if the quiet moments matter just as much as the loud victories? What if the days where you simply get through without applause, without recognition, are actually the ones shaping you the most? Because the truth is, not every battle looks dramatic. Some battles are silent. Some happen entirely in your mind. And just because no one else can see them doesn't mean they're not real. You may not always notice it, but every time you choose to keep going, even when your energy is low, you're building something. Every time you decide not to give up, even when the outcome isn't clear, you're growing in ways that can't be seen right away. And yes, uncertainty can feel uncomfortable. It can make you question everything, your path, your decisions, even yourself. It can make you feel like you're standing still while the rest of the world keeps moving forward. But uncertainty doesn't mean you're lost. Sometimes it just means you're in the middle of becoming something new. So if today feels unclear, if things don't seem to be working out the way you planned, don't rush to label it as failure. Not every step needs to make sense immediately. Not every effort shows results right away. Sometimes just showing up is enough. Sometimes continuing despite the doubts, despite the fear, despite the exhaustion is already a quiet kind of strength that most people overlook. So before you scroll past this, take a breath. Not to escape what you're feeling, but to acknowledge it. You're here. You've made it this far. And even if it doesn't look like much, from the outside, it means more than you think. After everything you've been carrying, it makes sense that you feel this way. Because life doesn't always slow down when you need it to. It doesn't pause just because you're tired, or confused, or unsure of what comes next. It keeps moving quietly, constantly, while you're still trying to catch up with your own thoughts. Maybe that's where you are right now. Trying to understand things without clear answers. Trying to stay steady while everything around you feels unclear. You might be doing your best to hold it together on the outside, while inside it feels messy and hard to explain. And the strange part is, from the outside, everything might look completely normal. People see you showing up. They see you going through your day, doing what you're supposed to do, saying the right things at the right time. But they don't see the weight behind it. They don't hear the conversations you have in your own mind late at night. They don't feel how exhausting it can be to keep going when your energy is already running low. That's the part most people don't talk about. The quiet pressure of having to figure things out on your own. The silent expectation that you should already know what you're doing, where you're going, and how everything is supposed to turn out. As if life comes with a clear map that everyone else understands, except you. But the truth is, a lot of people are just as uncertain. They're just better at hiding it. And somewhere along the way, we started believing that we're the only ones who feel lost like this. That if we're unsure, it must mean we're behind. That if things aren't clear yet, something must be wrong. So we push ourselves harder. We overthink every decision. We question every step. We compare our progress to people who seem like they already have everything figured out. And slowly, without realizing it, we turn our own journey into something that feels heavier than it needs to be. Not because life is always hard, but because we keep expecting ourselves to have all the answers right now, and maybe that's where the pressure really comes from. Not just from what's happening around you, but from what you believe should already be happening by now. And this is where it starts to weigh on you the most. Not in loud, obvious ways, but in the quiet moments. When you finally have time to sit with your thoughts, and everything you've been pushing aside slowly comes back to the surface. The questions you couldn't answer. The pressure you tried to ignore. The feeling that somehow you should be further along than you are right now. It builds up, little by little. You start wondering if you've made the wrong choices, if you took the wrong path somewhere along the way, if all the effort you've been putting in is actually leading anywhere, or if you're just moving in circles without realizing it. And the hardest part is, there's no clear sign telling you what to do next, no guarantee that things will work out, no certainty that the direction you're heading in is the right one. Just this constant feeling of having to keep going, even when you're not fully sure why. So you keep pushing yourself, even when you're tired, even when your mind feels crowded with doubts, even when a part of you just wants to stop for a while, but you don't, because stopping feels like falling behind. And that's where the pressure quietly turns into something heavier. It's no longer just about figuring things out. It becomes about proving something to yourself, to others, maybe even to expectations you never consciously agreed to. That you're capable, that you're not wasting time, that you're not as lost as you sometimes feel. But the more you try to prove it, the more exhausting it becomes. Because deep down, what you're really fighting isn't the situation itself. It's the fear that you might not be enough, not fast enough, not clear enough, not strong enough to handle everything that's in front of you. And that fear has a way of distorting everything. It makes small setbacks feel bigger than they are. It makes pauses feel like failures. It makes you overlook how far you've already come, because all you can see is how far you think you still have to go. So you keep carrying it. The doubt, the pressure, the expectations, the constant need to figure everything out as soon as possible, until one day you realize it's not just life that feels heavy. It's the way you've been trying to hold all of it on your own. But here's something most people don't realize until much later. Not everything you're carrying is actually yours to hold. Some of that pressure came from expectations you picked up along the way, things you were taught to believe about success, timing, and what your life should look like by now. Some of it came from comparing your journey to people who are walking completely different paths. And some of it came from the idea that you're supposed to have everything figured out already. But that idea isn't real. No one truly has it all figured out. Not completely, not permanently. People just learn how to move forward despite not knowing everything. They take the next step without having the full picture. And somehow, that's enough to keep going. And maybe that's what you've been missing. The permission to not have all the answers right now. Because clarity doesn't always come before action. Sometimes, clarity comes after you've taken a few uncertain steps. After you've tried, adjusted, failed, and tried again. It's not something you wait for, it's something that slowly reveals itself as you keep moving. But when you expect yourself to know everything from the start, you end up stuck. You hesitate. You think too much about each step. You delay decisions because you're afraid of making the wrong choice. And without realizing it, you start to slow your own progress. That's the quiet trap. You think you need certainty before you move, when in reality, movement is what creates certainty over time. And once you start seeing it that way, something shifts. You begin to understand that it's okay to take small steps, that it's okay if your progress doesn't look impressive to anyone else, that it's okay to move slowly as long as you don't stop completely, because growth isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it looks like choosing to keep going when you feel like quitting. Sometimes it looks like giving yourself space to breathe instead of forcing yourself to have everything under control. Sometimes it looks like letting go of timelines that were never truly yours in the first place. And most importantly, it looks like trusting that where you are right now is part of the process, not proof that you're failing. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're just in the middle of your own timeline, learning things you couldn't have understood any other way. And even if it doesn't feel like it yet, that still counts as progress. And maybe this is the part you need to hear the most. You were never meant to have everything figured out all at once. Not at this stage. Not at this pace. Not under this much pressure. Because the truth is, life was never designed to be understood in a single moment. It unfolds slowly through confusion, through mistakes, through steps that don't always make sense at first. And the more you try to force clarity too early, the more you end up fighting a process that was never meant to be rushed. You keep thinking that one day, everything will suddenly click, that there will be a moment when your doubts begin to fade, your choices feel more clear, and you start to feel ready to move forward with more confidence. But that moment rarely comes the way you expect. Clarity doesn't arrive like a lightning strike. It builds quietly. Through the steps you take when you're unsure, through the choices you make even when you don't have all the answers, through the days you show up, not because you feel confident, but because you refuse to give up on yourself. That's how it happens. Not in one big breakthrough, but in small, almost invisible shifts. And here's the part most people miss. You don't gain confidence, then take action. You take action. And that's how confidence starts to grow. You don't eliminate doubt before you move forward. You move forward, and slowly, doubt loses its control over you. So if you've been waiting to feel ready, if you've been holding yourself back until everything feels clear, you might be waiting for something that was never required in the first place. Because you don't need perfect clarity to take the next step. You don't need complete certainty to move forward. You don't need to have everything under control to begin. You just need to be willing to continue, even if the step is small, even if the direction isn't fully clear, even if a part of you is still unsure. Because at the end of the day, the people who move forward aren't the ones who have no fear, no doubt, no confusion. They're the ones who decide to keep going anyway. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you're already doing that. So, if you're still here, still listening, still trying to make sense of everything, don't rush past this moment. Take a second and really think about where you are right now. Not where you think you should be, not where other people seem to be. Just your path, your pace, your reality. Because this is where your next step begins. Not in some perfect future version of yourself. Not when everything finally feels clear. But right here, in the middle of the uncertainty. In the middle of the questions, in the middle of everything that doesn't fully make sense yet. And instead of waiting for everything to feel right, just choose one small step. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It doesn't even have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Maybe it's finally starting something you've been putting off. Maybe it's continuing something you almost gave up on. Maybe it's simply deciding that you're not going to stop today. Whatever it is, make it yours. And if your mind starts to fill with doubt again, if that voice comes back telling you to wait, to hold back, to play it safe, don't argue with it. Just don't let it decide for you. Because you already know something deep down you don't need everything to be figured out to move forward. You don't need guarantees to take action. You don't need permission to keep going. You just need to decide. So here's what I want you to do. After this, don't just scroll away and forget everything you felt in this moment. Don't let this become just another video you watched and left behind. Pause, take a breath, and ask yourself one simple question. What is one small step I can take today? Then do it. No overthinking. No waiting for the perfect time. No trying to get everything right. Just one step. Because that's how momentum starts. That's how clarity begins to form. That's how you slowly take back control of your own direction. And if you can do that today, even in the smallest way, then you're already moving forward. And maybe, at the end of all this, it's not about having everything perfectly in place. Maybe it's not about reaching a point where there are no questions left, no doubts, no moments of hesitation. Because those things don't just disappear, they evolve, they shift. They come and go as you move through different stages of your life. So if you're waiting for a time when everything feels completely clear, you might be waiting longer than you need to. Because life isn't something you fully figure out once and then live without confusion. It's something you learn as you go, step by step, moment by moment, through experiences that shape you in ways you can't always see right away. And that means it's okay to not have all the answers yet. It's okay if some parts of your life still feel unclear. It's okay if you're still in the process of understanding yourself, your direction, and what truly matters to you. That's not a sign that you're falling behind. That's a sign that you're still growing, still learning, still becoming, and maybe that's the part worth holding on to. Not the pressure to be perfect, not the need to have everything under control, but the quiet realization that you're allowed to move forward, even when things aren't fully clear yet. Because progress doesn't always look the way you imagined. Sometimes it's not loud. Sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it doesn't come with big moments or clear milestones. Sometimes it looks like you choosing to continue. One more time. Even when you're tired. Even when you're unsure. Even when a part of you wants to stop. And if that's where you are right now, then maybe you're doing better than you think. Maybe the fact that you're still here, still trying, still searching, still taking steps, no matter how small, is already something meaningful, something real, something that matters. So as you move forward from here, don't carry the weight of needing to have everything figured out. Just carry this. Instead, you are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to move at your own pace. And you are allowed to keep going. Exactly as you are. And for now, that's more than enough.